Hey everyone, thanks for joining us at Wave Podcast. So Wave's tied to the Ride the Wave Foundation. We empower people by providing free training to people seeking purpose. So anyone that's homeless, going through a hard time on the street, they could come in, get practical training, business type skills like how to find a purpose, positive leadership, mental health strategies. And on the flip side, providing training to people in middle to upper class to have the skills to be able to approach people in the streets they normally wouldn't. I'm Jeff Fisher. Let's ride the wave. Hey everyone, thank you for joining us again. Episode 7 of Ride the Wave podcast. I'm Jeff Fisher, your host. With me as usual, Mark Robinson. How you doing?
Good.
Hey man. Good to see you.
Hello, everybody.
Hey everybody. With me today is Javon Blue. Javon's a friend, and he's also the host of the Kingdoms Talks podcast.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for coming.
Good to be here, man.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm glad you made it through, man. I really appreciate it. So you're somebody that I met at Liquid Church in group. And when I was sitting there and you started to speak, I was very fascinated about what you had to say. I think that you're a very eloquent speaker. I think that you're someone who's deep into faith, and you have a way to present it really well to make sense, at least for me anyway. So I appreciate you coming on just to talk a little bit about that and your life as well and your story. So if you want to, wherever you want to start, just tell me a little bit about yourself, where you're from, your story. Just go with it.
Yeah, so definitely thank you guys for having me on the show. But yeah, so my story is fascinating, but it's just a walk of life, you know. But there's so many angles, so let me know, like as I'm talking, let me know which direction you want to go in, Jeff. But really it started never really met my dad. Well, not never really met. I never met my dad, right? So he could walk past me on the street today. I wouldn't even know what his face looks like. Mm-hmm. So my mother really raised us. And I mean, we had to move at least 7, 8, 9 times in my life.
That's a lot.
So
how many siblings?
So here's the thing. On my mother's side that I grew up with was my brother and my sister. But then my father had children that I met later. I think it's about 3. So I have 3. So I don't really, I'm now getting to the point where I'm learning, getting to know my older brother on my father's side. Okay. So I could have more siblings. I don't know. It's just one of those things. So just living that life of a single mother and just doing what she can. She had us young. She had my brother at 17, me at 19.
Very
my
young
sister,
having a kid.
Teenager. So she dropped out of high school, had to come back, do the whole GED thing, working jobs and just taking care of us. And then eventually, you know, let me go back.
Yeah, and real quick, where did you grow up?
Newark.
Okay.
So grew up in Newark, New Jersey, South Ward mainly. And then my mother just started moving. Like we was in Elizabeth, moved back to Newark, went to Roselle, came back. And then, so we was just.
And it was the reason for the moves really was jobs. Was she trying to get work, or what specifically was the reason?
I have no idea, man. Survival.
Yeah, survival.
I would say whatever's cheaper that's out there, or like somebody got something that she can grab of that's around the finances and stuff. Yeah, she'll take it, you know. So it was one of those survival tactics. And, you know, just black people, man, like we're good at survival, but we're not good at freedom.
It's interesting to me because I'm learning a lot. Meeting new people, especially Mark, you know, and our friends. There's certain patterns I think that I'm noticing within the communities there. So that's it's interesting to me that does take place as much as it does.
Yeah, I mean it's
common.
It's really embedded in the minds of black people.
Do you know? Do you have like? Why do you think that is?
Slavery. So that's not our starting point. But it's a point where we came out of slavery with no therapy, with no with no help. It's just now you're free, go out there. But then you have like black codes and all this other type of stuff that we were held against. So if you didn't have a job when you were free from the plantation, guess what? you got locked up and had to go back.
Sort of like if you come out of the wilderness and you disoriented a bit, because that means you're stretching yourself outside of yourself and you're going somewhere beyond where you don't know.
Exactly.
It can be challenging.
Exactly. But from my point of view, like, I don't think like now that's a crippling thing for our people, because it's just too much opportunity out here. Right. So at this point, it's like, man, like, everybody got a level playing field. I don't care if you white, brown, black, just get it done. Yeah. Right. So with that, that really was the mindset of my grandfather. So moving forward, a teacher from school literally told my mother, like, you got to get your kids out of Newark. Like, so that went another route of us not living with our mother. Me and my brother lived with our grandparents.
Okay.
So now this is when a certain shift in my paradigm of life happened, when my grandfather left from Newark and he bought a house down in Howell, which was like Central Jersey. Yeah. It's like Freehold, Howard area, whatever. And that was the first time I got exposed to white people on a different level. We talking about the only black kid in the
That's
class.
why I love when Mark and I go places and we walk around. I love that. Because it's like you got this white boy all like polished up.
But you learn so much. Yeah. So it's like, it's another
so
survival though. So it's like, if you're used to it, you're like, all right, this is just another thing that I'm just going to have to learn the game and then play the game.
What do you feel like is the difference survival? It's like when you say survival, and I think I know what you're saying there. What specifically do you mean by that? So
being the minority, right? And that's not always a bad thing. You know what I'm saying? So for me, I didn't ever see it that way. I seen it as an advantage for me to learn something new to get better.
I like that mindset.
Right? So my grandfather comes from Florida. My grandmother came from North Carolina. So they came from the South, came up here. This is how they met. And my grandfather dropped out in the 6th grade to go to work for his siblings. So he never went to school after that outside of 6th grade, came up here. He built an amazing landscaping company and got his family out, bought a house, the whole nine. So that work ethic, that grit, how black people complain today about what they're going through and how the white man's keeping them down. He's like, y'all don't know half of it.
Do you think you got some of your work ethic too? Because you know you're helping people with finances. You're an entrepreneur and you're into a few things. Does your mom, you think, play a part in that? Seeing her work ethic and wanting to help with finances because of seeing the struggles there, or is that just you think?
Nah, my mother is her own person when it comes to that. She taught me a lot when it comes to. So she got into Mary Kay very young. So I knew about the network marketing industry way back when. So I was in those meetings and the pink Cadillacs and all that type of stuff. Oh, cool. And then she was like, no, you got to go sell this at school. So I made my first $600 as a teenager at school selling products. And how I did it was I literally sold to my football team. And I'm like, yo, Valentine's Day is coming up. Y'all already know, get your girls some perfume. That I made $600. That was the first time I seen that much money. And I just was in sales ever since after that. Yeah. So that took another segue into me wanting to know more about money.
Right? Gotcha. Okay. And, you know, that area, there's traps. There's a lot you can get into and go the other route. What made you think, stay away? Or was there issues that you had to get through to get to the point, and as successful as you are, you have a new baby, two beautiful children. You got a lot of great things. Blessings.
So I would say the finance piece started with me when at the age of 14, my grandfather gave me a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki.
Good book.
We all read that. Yep. I read the cover. I mean, I got every book he ever written now at this point. But that was the first time that I read my first book cover to cover. Right. In school, I was like, I hate taking tests, but I loved schoolwork. Like I love
7 Habits was for me. That was the one.
Nice. Stephen Covey. Yeah. But yeah, so that was the first time I read, you know, my first book cover to cover. And then I gave it back to my grandfather because he gave it to me. And I said, hey, Papa, listen, read the book, love the book, but I don't want to go to college. And he said, if you don't want to go to college, then you have to do something that's going to bring you college money. Right. So he didn't go to college. He just went straight to work. So I went straight to work. So graduated high school, Still didn't go to college. And I went straight to work just like he did. So I went into landscaping, started to learn the trade, started to learn the work ethic, getting up before the sun come up, coming back home when it's dark, all that type of stuff. While my friends is partying at school, I'm working.
Yeah.
Right. So through that, my best friend's father was a real estate, well, still is a real estate investor. Right. So he created a firm, this, that, and the third. So that's when I started to learn about foreclosed properties, share sales, short sales, and how to really get into the wholesaling process of bringing a seller and a buyer together. So that's when I started to learn how passive income works, how much money is really out here in assets over liabilities. That's when I started to learn that from the real estate aspect. Long story short, met another brother that was into the trading game.
Yeah.
So we were literally traveling, and we got off a plane in Florida, and he took his laptop out. We was waiting for an Uber. He took his laptop out, and literally in 30 minutes, he made about $24,000.
Wow.
In front of my face, and I was like, bro. And he was like, yeah, this is binary options, or trading. So he started to talk about options trading, and that was the first time I was just like, man.
Yeah.
And then my grandfather started getting into options trading. And then that's when I started to really look into how money really works.
Really works.
And it just took off from there.
Yeah, it took off from that. And you have a company.
Yeah.
Right?
So
what's your company?
So my brand that I have is skill sets over paychecks trading course.
I like the name.
Yeah.
That's a good name.
It's dope, bro.
Yeah. I got to see your logo. I haven't seen it yet.
Yep. So
you better have a good logo too.
Yep. So that's really like the little tagline that I use, but like the name is like Kingdom Trading Network.
Okay.
But it's like skill sets over paychecks, trading course.
Yeah. It's like your tagline. I like that.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like that.
And it's been phenomenal, man. Like my focus is really men and marriages, teaching a man how to navigate and learn the language of money and how to produce it, multiply it, and then give it. And then having the marriage be have a financial foundation with a skill set versus a job.
Okay.
So that's my target.
That's your target. So
Yep.
you're specializing in married couples.
Married couples and men.
Will you do individual?
What
Will you
training,
do anything?
like one-on-ones?
One-on-ones.
Yeah.
Personal
Like
finance, stuff
men,
like that.
like
So it's
men
just-
that are not married, such as myself. Or
Yeah, men. So my
Yeah,
target, like 9 times out of 10, I'm speaking to men, right? But if they're married, that's even better for me.
Is there a reason why you went? And that makes sense. And I kind of know you too. And I know I've listened to your podcast, stuff like that. So is there a reason why? Is there something to be able to relate to men more, just to help them out and target a specific skills there? Is there a reason why you don't do one-on-one with women as well? Or it's just, it really is tailoring the skill. Yeah.
And there's nothing against them.
Yeah.
You know, just for me,
I wouldn't think so. You're a good guy.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the case.
I'm called to men, right? Like right now, we're looking at a society right now where men is losing their voice, toxic masculinity, all this stuff attack on men, and women are getting praised, women are getting raised, and women are just becoming that focal point of every area of everything, right? But the man is just losing right now. And you're like, men are becoming weaker and weaker and weaker. And 9 times out of 10, if you talk to a man, it really goes back to finances. I can't provide. I can't do what I want to do. I can't get this. I can't give my children this. It's always going to come back to finances at some point because you don't have the freedom to do.
See, what I think, it doesn't matter, women or men. I think it just matters the character, education, and the drive of the actual person per se.
I mean, for
that's
me,
just
it's I would say
and
this, right?
Also, too. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I would say this one point. Like when we look at statistically speaking, when majority of women, right, that's in position that get money, their real focal point. Now, I'm a married man with kids, right? So I'm looking at the wife and I'm looking at the mother aspect.
Sure.
So when we look at that, the female's mind is, I'm taking care of myself and the children. I do not think about the man. Why? Because naturally the man can protect himself. Like I'm strong enough to do that. The man, whatever we get in abundance, the whole community eats.
Now, where do you base that off of?
So this is just me speaking.
This is just
speaking to
and
married
just so
people.
everybody knows in the audience, these
Yeah.
are all not a direct reflection to ride the wave per se, but just an open conversation about somebody's beliefs. And also, it's not an expert conversation because there's no studies.
Not an expert on this.
Right. There's
This
no
is my
particular
observation.
studies. It's an observation.
Nope.
So when you were saying that men are going down a bit or
Mm-hmm.
becoming weaker and women are coming up, do you mean jobs? Things like that? Like, can you clarify
And
on what you mean?
and all
by that
things
specifically?
like mentally, emotionally, spiritually speaking, you can see the man is becoming so passive now. We don't talk on issues as much, and even when
Everyone.
when we're in men groups, like we don't even talk about
Right? What happened
Stuff.
with I'm a very very
outspoken.
Men,
I'm
like,
outspoken.
see, we as the women, independent women population rose and rose and rose, and after certain women, not all women, get tired of, I guess, being in a relationship with men that they feel like they have to become independent, or they feel like after being with so many men, they just be like, I'm gonna stay by myself. I'm gonna become an independent woman. You know what I mean? Then they just stay focused on that.
But that's
now,
a programming.
right?
You know what I'm saying?
That's what I'm saying.
A natural woman don't think that way.
I know.
Too bad we don't have
That's
a
what I'm
woman
saying.
sit-
That's
sit
why
here
I'm
to be able to
saying
win.
certain. That's why I said certain women,
Yeah.
because natural women don't think like that. You know what I mean?
I'm not going to pretend to know what it is to be, in the shoes of a woman. I mean, I could have my observations, but yeah, I don't know. I think that it's much more gray than black and white. It's not as cookie cutter. I think it's more general, like the person, the spirit, like more than.
So speaking on the spirit of it, right? So I'm a very spiritual person. Like I understand Satan tactics, right? And I actually did an episode on like Genesis 3, right? And in Genesis 3, we literally see it. You know what?
Before you do that, actually, Javon, can you just tell me one thing? How did you come into faith? How did faith find you?
Okay.
And then we can go just right into that.
So my walk of faith, I mean, my grandfather was a pastor. My uncle right now is a pastor and bishop. So I grew in the faith.
Okay.
Right. So the household, everybody was basically that. My cousins and everything, everybody was 5% Nation of Islam, Kemetic science, different stuff like that. So I had one that was black consciousness stuff, and then I had Christianity. Mm-hmm. So it led me to read a lot, and it led me to study a lot.
What's black conscious?
So black conscious religions are like basically what I named the 5% Nation, the Nation of Islam, the Moorish temple. Like,
yeah, I'm
like
not familiar with that.
Yeah, it's a very urban. Like you gotta go to New York. Newark got a lot of.
Maybe one day
stuff.
we could talk about that specifically, like one of them.
It's
If
deep.
you want to? All right, I'd love. You want to do that, Mark?
Yeah, we can do that.
You think like actually having to sit down, something like that? Because I've never heard of that. I'd be interested in learning.
Yeah, like there's this really, the white man is the devil. So you're gonna get a lot of rhythm of that on that. So yeah.
Well, look, here's how I view it. Right. I mean, I don't have to subscribe to everything, but I think it's important that, especially this day and age, that we sit down and have kind of conversations about things, even if we don't agree. Mm-hmm. Something like sitting down and talking about something that's controversial, even if it's against white people. I mean, it's real. Yeah. Right. So why not put it out there, like you said? Because the problem is, and I don't know if it was Kennedy or whoever, the true. Something we evil, I'm now going to maybe botch it up, but the reason for true evil is when good men don't do anything or something like that. I'm completely ruining that quote. But yeah, the point is like when good men don't stand up, that's when evil prevails. So the silence thing, like I said, I'm pretty outspoken and I think outside the box quite a bit. So when in an environment where it's group, with Christians, I'm not a typical, because how I came to faith. So growing up, I grew up in Parsippany. My life wasn't bad. I could go in the back, my friends, Mount Tabor, all in that area. My parents got a divorce when I was 4 years old, and I had visitation rights, so I went over there every other week. He was an alcoholic. He wasn't somebody that was violent. He didn't yell and scream, nothing like that. If anything, maybe with my dad is a lack of growth, childishness. He gambled quite a bit, lied about money, certain things to my mom, and they divorced. And he remarried, and his wife, her name is Sandy, at that time was a very controlling person. And I was young. My brother's 4 years older than me at that time, or obviously in general, but he was older. So somebody came to the door at some point. There was a lot of financial issues with them. And this is not to knock any religion at all. Jehovah's Witness came to the door. Now, there are levels like anything else, right? I think that you could be too much into something or not, no matter what it is, really. So she got very, very deep into it. And he prior was always somebody that loved Christmas. You know, he was really into the holidays and things like that. Yeah. Not a devout Christian or anything like that. He came to faith through eventually doing the Jehovah's Witness. But the thing is we were never explained anything. We never had knowledge. All of a sudden, birthday cards stopped. There was a distance there.
Yeah.
What really was the big one was my grandmother, who was a saint. She was a beautiful person. She ended up dying, and at the funeral, he was supposed to carry the casket, and he didn't do it because I guess you can't go into a church in that religion. Since then, I do want to say that it's been reconciled. Actually, he was at my wedding, and my brother was married, and he went into a church. So there's a reconnect later on because we weren't talking for a while.
Yeah.
So I didn't, because I was so young, my brother took it really, really hard. And I didn't, because I saw that conflict and I was sort of afraid of it. I was afraid of Christianity. I never hated it, but I avoided it. And then in my early years, especially when I was in a manic type phase, I would really go down the rabbit hole of YouTube. I've always been interested in what life is. So Alan Watts, like any philosophy, I looked into Hinduism, Buddhism, things like that, just really trying to find out and just exploratory. I was really on exploratory. My whole life been on a journey to explore and figure things out. And I did that behind the scenes, sort of when no one was looking, but I always avoided Christianity. I don't know why. I just didn't come across it. It wasn't like, oh, I hate it or anything like that. So I now Ray Marone, who I purchased my company NCK equipment from, and sort of while looking through the culture, something him and I used to say, wave came about. Ride the wave. Yeah, you're riding the wave. Really upbeat, positive guy. He gave me a book by John Gordon, author and speaker. It was Training Camp. Yep. Now, that's not a religious book per se. It's really 11 traits of to be the best. And it's a book like that. It's a story about a football player. You don't have to know football specifically. There was something about the book, man. Like it does mention God, but it's not the whole thing. Yeah. And I don't know what it was. I just had a feeling, and I started to pray a little bit. And I never was somebody who really prayed much. And every day I went downstairs, and I was living with my mom at the time, and I just went downstairs and I prayed. Eventually, I felt something. I actually kind of felt something come over me, you know, and that's interesting. I felt like that same day, I was going to go to the track. I live next to Parsippany Hills High School, or my mom does. And I was walking down the street. Pastor Kyler lives on that street. Him and his father-in-law, older guy obviously, was digging out a mailbox. Just replacing his mailbox post, his entire mailbox. While they were digging, I offered to help, grabbed a shovel, Pastor Kyler, who is at Liquid Church. And he didn't really tell me to go to church or anything. He just explained who he was. And when he said he was a pastor from Canada originally, I thought, wow, fascinating.
Never knew
That's fascinating. So I then really started to look into the church. I went online, started to look at Liquid Church. I was like, I think I'm just going to go one day myself. I was nervous in the car, man. I actually almost didn't come in because I thought, it's going to be weird. This isn't like a traditional church. Are they going to make me drink the Kool-Aid? Like I'm by myself. Really cool place. One of the things I've always wanted to do is I felt a passion at an early age to go and do a clean water project. And the first thing, I go in there, clean water, cafe.
Yep.
So I was like, oh, okay, interesting. Set up sort of like a play or a TED Talk. It's a lot different with the music. I was feeling it. And then I got YouVersion Bible app,
The Bible app,
through the
yeah.
church. And really, really good app. Another really good modern app that is Bible Project. Really great videos. They have a modern facility too, with all different young people, like all different ages. And almost like a tech company in California, the way their facility is. So I know this is a long-winded story. I'm sorry I'm taking up so much time, man. But yeah, and there's so much more behind that.
Yeah.
But I then fully accepted, and I think there are two different types of people. I think there are people that go through the motions, church and things like that, and there are people that actually have received the Holy Spirit and understand that. And I've read the Bible in full. And it was 2 years ago that I came to faith, and I read the New Testament, and I've been studying it ever since. And definitely want to go to your group on Tuesday, man. But that is a very snapshot, high level of how I led to that. And honestly, it's very unexpected for me that I would say to somebody that I am a Christian. And because I didn't have that traditional kind of church upbringing, I'm not, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, I'm not anchored. I'm much more of a free thinker. My mind could think way outside of the box and things. Like for us to have somebody eventually hopefully come in, talk about the Quran, sit down, openly exchange, it's like my spiritual manual, their spiritual manual. If I was lived out there, that's how I would grow up. You know what I mean? So I think that there are patterns
necessarily.
And there are connections.
I mean, people say
it's
that.
my family. But if if I was born out in the Middle East or wherever, and my family was Muslim, I'm much more likely to be a Muslim.
Yeah, it's the in culture, but it's the same thing that we have about like America with a Judeo-Christian context.
Yes, that's true.
If I walk to the average American, oh yeah, I believe in God, but you're not saved though. You didn't repent. Right. You just grow up in a Judeo-Christian culture. Yeah. So it's the same over there. Now, Islam is a whole different ballgame because you literally get killed for not doing certain things. Christianity, not so much. You know what I'm saying? So it's a different. And then when we look at the context, it was actually safer to be Christian like years ago. It was safer to be Christian over there in Turkey and Afghanistan than it was here.
Right. And Christians get persecuted all over the world. So that's, I think,
So Christianity is like, you have this Western culture imperialism that we have with Christianity. Like this Western context of Christianity is why you were so scared of it. Is because if you really get the truth of who Jesus is.
Yeah, it's not like I thought, man. It's not like I thought. Like an example of, and these are thoughts that I may have had, like there's so much. If God, why would God wrath? Why would there be so much destruction and things like that? And now I look at it like when I'm reading it, I high level, I look at things at more of a psychological aspect. So I don't really, I don't really memorize scripture but much. I'm sure I could, but I don't think that's really me per se. But looking at it, I'm like, oh, okay. He's pointing out, I don't like that. I hate sin. That's the reason for that up and down. And it's a cycle of seasons and our life, the evolution of our life that I see in the book. It's very fascinating. And I would encourage people to at least just slightly, before you say, hey, oh no, whatever, just look under the hood just a little bit. Even if it's Bible Project app or something, see if it hits, because you never know. What if it's like 1% real?
I mean,
you know what I mean? Like, just be careful, because our country, like you said, it was built on those principles, and I think that we should take that more seriously. We don't get away from it.
And we're leaving it. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? We still have the context of it, but we're letting too much get into the So it's like we have a Judeo-Christian culture, but you're now allowing every other thought process to come into that culture, and now it gets watered down at that point. So,
but you know what though? It's kind of a catch-22, right? When you say we're going to create a free society,
no such thing.
But then you separate government, religion. It's I guess like everything kind of eventually catches up. And one of the things that for me always was the word sin. the word sin. And now, just like cold, it's not really cold in itself. It's an absence of heat. Mm-hmm. That's all cold is. It just doesn't have heat. So
just like darkness.
Sin is an absence of God, of light. And it's really just, and the more farther away, and Joseph Campbell talked a bit about entropy and things like that, like chaoticness and then coming and clean. Like the farther you go away, the more chaotic and the more you cause sin. Like that is something that I would have gone my entire life literally and been like, oh, sin. That's just because I make a mistake or I do something. Who's the judge? You know, that's an aspect that those type of things I'm learning, and I think everybody has their own way and their own journey because everybody, like I said, at one point has their own fingerprint. You know, you can't replicate. You're unique. So everybody has their own point of view, just like with women, like things that we just talked about with you. But I think that it's important for people to have an understanding of that. And to just, we are different. Everybody has their point of view. You don't have to yell and scream. Try to like.
I want to touch back on a point where he was talking about why he focused more on men. And I believe from my own experience that a man like me, through my experience, would want somebody to reach out to me for those reasons. You know what I'm saying? Would be, like I said, the financial, the providing.
Yeah.
Me, I was growing up, it was like, from my experience, like I said, I grew up before they took down the projects and all that. When everything was with naught. You know what I mean? So I've been all through there. But it was like, from what I've seen, it was like, if you didn't have this, you didn't have that. You didn't have this, you ain't have her.
Yeah.
So you're saying to get into a relationship, Mark?
It's worse now.
Yeah.
Material?
It's worse now.
Yeah.
If you don't have stability within your, like, if a man doesn't have his own stability and he's busy trying to provide for someone else, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
But like I said, in my experience, for some reason, it was like, I always wanted financial. I always wanted the money aspect so I can get the woman. You know what I'm saying? I always wanted to be that person to have that so I can find a woman or to get the materialistic things.
Of that would be for what?
You know
exactly right.
That's the journey.
Right.
Like what? For an image? To please who? But is it fulfilling? You know what I'm saying? Because once you get it, it's like, all right, she gonna use you. They gonna use you. And then you back to an empty house. And eventually the car in the house just become a car in the house. But if you're not really,
you lucky if you left with the car in the house.
So when you look at it from that aspect, is that the reason why I always focus on like men is because number one, like from the Genesis context, the man was created first. That's just it. Now watch this. So you got Genesis 2. God gives instruction and he gives dominion to the male and the female in the spirit. Then he creates the man in Genesis, right? The next chapter, he creates the man in the physical first. Before man had woman, he had work and he had God. That was the only two things he ever had. He didn't have a woman. So when I see a man trying to do the opposite, they're trying to chase the woman and they don't even have their life together, and they don't even have a relationship with God, bro, you're gonna go down to a destruction that you ain't ready for.
Yeah, good point, Mark. And
You know what I mean?
it feels good too to have it together.
Right.
They
Yeah.
do.
You know, like as a man, it's important. Like, I don't think that there's anything wrong with, and I'll let you go, Mark. Sorry, I cut you off. Anything wrong with, like, I'm a straight man, but you know, I think that it's okay. It's really, we should strive to be able to give and teach each other to how to like, there shouldn't be anything wrong with building a household as a man and making money and certain things like that, because it makes you feel good as a man, makes me feel more productive. Like anytime I'm hustling, just doing my thing at work, and if we get good sales and things like that, knowing that I could provide for family now, I don't know, it gives purpose. It gives purpose. And I think that it's really important, especially for men, to have purpose.
That's 'cause it's
and
in
to have
us.
a vision. So, yeah.
It's in us. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
it was in Adam. So that's why, like, when Eve came on the picture, God had to put Adam to sleep, and God said about Adam, it's not good for man to be alone. Man didn't say that. And then the wife, it said that she became a helpmate to Adam, which means she came to help whatever Adam was doing.
Yeah.
Which means, man, be doing something. So,
But we are
You know what I'm
equal.
saying? Yeah.
We are equal because in the beginning, like you said, the spirits
In
were both.
spirit.
So
In spirit,
this isn't, just to clarify too to people, this isn't, and
Yeah,
it's
this ain't
never
some
a knock.
battle of the sexes.
No, it's that.
Basically.
It's for sure not that.
Yeah.
This is an open combo.
Kind of
don't
is,
take
but
it that way.
but it is really not.
No. And but you know, I think it's interesting. I think that we're getting away from that. You had mentioned toxic masculinity prior. I also think that that is a bit of a problem. I don't think there's anything wrong with going out. I mean, you know, like everybody else, there could be people that just put that, like Mark said, just focus on material things to get women and things like that. That I can understand as toxic. But the problem is these blanket statements that get put out there, and that categorizes all men as that. And that's not the case, because there's really great,
who
good
puts
men. I'm
them
sitting
out,
next
though?
to two right there.
But who puts out these
The
statements?
devil does through the media.
But women, it's coming out of women's mouths that are not married.
Why?
That are not.
Yeah.
So I always never blame women. I always blame the man. The reason why your house ain't in order is because the man, right? The reason why this is happening in society, in the community, and all this stuff is because of the man. When the man is out of order and the man is not in sync with God instructions, he doesn't have a foundation, then Satan get to run rampant all day long. So the reason why I said, like, I'm very spiritual, so I know the spiritual tactics of Satan. It's the same thing he did in Genesis 3.
Can you enlighten us on some of the tactics? Because
it's
I'm
like this,
starting to
watch.
understand.
Watch this. This is going to be so plain.
That's sort of like me when I say I stay away from certain people, places, and things.
Got to do
Yeah.
Because
it. Got to do it.
not only because of the stuff that I've been through, I'm spiritual. I sense these things.
Yeah. No, I understand.
I don't know how to explain it. Like you know what I'm saying,
Yeah.
Javon.
Yeah. Some people
Like you know
understand
exactly
the
what I'm
spirit, and
saying.
some people
I
don't.
It's like I'm spiritual like you, but it's like I'm on a different level type of spiritual. Like you're
Tapped in.
you're right. You're like tapped in, but I'm like almost there. That's why this is why I say to you, this is why I carry myself the way that I do.
Yeah.
We all made mistakes. I made my mistakes growing up in North. I made my mistakes running the street, this, that, and the third. It's how you live through it and deal with it.
Yeah.
I've been, in the battles and been jumped left for dead, did this, that, and the third. I've been there, done that. By the grace of God, like I said, all the stuff that I've been through.
Still here.
Yeah, thank God. I'm glad you are, man. I appreciate you, Mark.
I've realized and long time ago, I'm kept here for a specific reason.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I realized that long time ago. Like I said, I'm different than a lot of my peers and my family, and they don't understand that.
Well, hopefully this
So
is the
it's like-
start of the journey of why you're here.
Yeah.
Ride the wave.
And this is not for them to understand.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
When you get to that realization that it's okay that you don't understand, it's freeing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, because who I'm called to be and who I'm called to doesn't mean that you are. So I can't walk the same way that you walk. I can't go to the same places that you go. So it's like the Christian context is that we are supposed to be holy as God is holy, but that doesn't mean I'm better than you. It just means I'm separated from that.
Mm-hmm.
You get what
Yeah,
I'm
but that
saying?
doesn't mean that still means falling short and not being perfect.
Yeah.
So just the thing that I've seen that I think puts bad taste in people's mouth is when people think that they're better than others.
Mhm.
Not saying you're not like that.
That's called pride.
Right.
But also like more knowledge, somebody that may memorize scripture a little bit more or something like that, but they just feel like you know what I mean? Like they're lacking the spirit, not the spirit, but
no, they lacking the spirit.
Yeah. I mean,
that's what they do.
Right. And I think that unfortunately, when that happens, especially somebody that hasn't done an exploratory or initially looking into it, because I personally think it has to be proactive. Yes, something could spark it and come, but I think it just has to be of, there were things, and I'm not at all gonna even open the door or get into politics or anything, but there are things that I went another step in at the time. I'm not really into it, and I don't follow, but at that time dug deeper than normal. And I learned some things. So if you just kind of, people don't take that extra step, and the devil distracts us.
There you go. He's the great deceiver. Like I look at hell as a bunch of misguided people. Distracted people. They lost sight of the truth because it was like a fogginess. You still could drive in a fog, but if it's never lifted, you really don't know where you're going.
I like that.
You know what I'm saying? Just picture a long, dark cabin pine tree road. It's a bunch of fog, bro. But if it's always dark and it's always foggy and no light ever comes and no fog ever lifts,
and that's how
you'll be driving forever until you enter that time period where it's like
and
you're stuck.
And that's how I had to change. That's how I thought about, in the aspect, not in those exact words, but that's how I started to
think about things.
like not only think about things, but change my way of thought.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like I had to reteach myself thought wise and thinking wise, like perception of different things. Like, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I had to grow out of, if you don't have this, won't nobody ever love you? Or if you don't have nothing to show for yourself as being a man, won't nobody ever want to be with you? Huh? Who? What?
It's a lot.
I have a question, and I don't mean anything by it. I mean, it's a genuine question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because is that Newark or areas like that in those communities, just like Mark is saying, the material aspects of things, right, is really important. Having nice clothing, things like that. I know. So their kids or the community takes pride in a lot of that. Do you think that is because of the way things are set up, or the lack of faith and structure or education there? Or do you just think that
it's a mixture of so
music culture, things like that, are just genuine?
It's
culture,
all of it. So like our culture, there's a guided attack, right? So when you turn on the TV, this is how black families look. When you look how we went from Bill Cosby state of TV to this nonsense where every black family is dysfunctional. We yelling, we fighting, we doing all. It's madness at this point, right? So when you look at that, then you walk outside. Like Bobby from Somerset could walk outside, and he sees his neighbors and birds chirping.
Yeah.
Jaquan walk outside.
Yeah.
And it's yellow tape down the street.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But guess what? You still better go to school because you're not staying home because I got to go to work.
Right.
So get your butt over there. And guess what? You're going to laugh passing the yellow tape.
Yeah.
Because that's just the way it is. So you have two different images. And then people from the outside would look like, well, why they keep doing that? Well, if you was from birth, this is what you seen.
Right.
What are you going to do different? You get what I'm saying? Now, you can do the possibility. Like, I believe because we live in America, everybody got a choice. Bro, you are freer than what they're doing over there in the Middle East and in Africa. Like, it's wild.
Let's be grateful for that. And, instead of, the coffee is taking too much time at Starbucks, think like you're breathing.
Entitlement.
You're alive, you know?
And that's the American mindset.
Be happy that somebody's alive to make you that coffee in the morning. Like, be happy there's somebody there to make you what you want.
Gratitude.
Be gratitude.
It's like a sword, though. Gratitude is like a sword against evil in a way. I mean, if you really, when my life changed, it really would. Now, actually, it's interesting because I'm thinking, like, even prior, what led to it was the things like 7 Habits. And not even realizing at the time, John Maxwell, John Gordon, Ed Milet, who I'm a fan of. These are my influences. I do like Tony Robbins. Those are all people that are my influences.
Yeah.
And I didn't know they were like Christian per se at that time. Ed Milet came a little later. And then John has been progressing into that more. He's more outspoken. But it's one of those things where I just completely lost my train of thought. I didn't even know what I was thinking about before, man. But go for it.
I'm sorry, Mark, you good.
One more thing. I had mentioned that the reason why he focused on men because, like I said, from my years of living and experience, men are, at some point, for many years, the focal point of being the head of household, of being the provider of everything, this, that, and third. So when a man doesn't have that, you're nothing.
Yeah.
No one wants to deal with you. No one wants to talk to you. So, like I said, growing up to a certain aspect, that was my train of thought. Mm-hmm. But then it was like, I just looked at my life and things that I went through was like, well, if I just don't have it, I just don't have it. Mm-hmm. I'm only one person. I'm only one man. Mm-hmm. And I mean, if I don't have it, I just don't have it. You're going to love me either whether you like it or not. If, you know what I mean, whether I have it or don't have it, that's a real person. If you're not going to love me for what I don't have and try to help me build on something together, then, you know.
See, but this is going back to, like, we got too stuck, like men in general. Men got too stuck and they put their identity in the roles, right? So what happens when a woman comes and takes all your roles? A woman can get a gun license, learn how to shoot, and protect her own self. So we take that out the equation. You're not a protector anymore.
Exactly.
A woman can make more money than you, and now she's the provider. Guess what? You're not the provider anymore.
Exactly.
So when you start to take away the roles, what are you left with? And this is why the identity can't be wrapped up in
a little bit different.
But it's like
I get you, but it opens up more competition too, because women could be super smart. A woman could be just way smarter than me.
No,
run
they
a
are.
business 100% and successfully. They have. I mean, it's proven. I've actually listened to women.
They are. Scientifically, they are.
The only thing, and
the human races.
Here's
the
I get it. See, I get what you're saying. I think that like there are benefits in a way, and it does of the traditional type of family where the man is the head of the household. But if that's agreed upon, because times have changed, there's no way to reverse that. I mean, you can't take away rights, obviously, and we wouldn't want to do that.
Yeah, like
anybody.
We have progressed as a nation, which is great.
I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, it has to be a balance. So this is what I'm saying is like when you take the man out of the house, the woman has no choice. So we're looking at we're talking about 60 years, especially with the black community. We're talking about 60 years of majority of men not being present in the home. So that's
So you're saying more years. For like
not but now it spilt over into other cultures at this point. Mm-hmm. So now this is not a black issue anymore. Like you can go to a white family and a woman could be a CFO. Huh?
Just watch the table.
I'm sorry. No, the woman could be a CFO, making $400,000 or $500,000 a year, but you could just be a police officer. You know what I'm saying? Making how much? So and this is why I'm like, the man can't get his identity from his role. It's why are you here? You know what I'm saying? What's your vision?
So, and I think it could be anyone, any human being. Mm-hmm. And I haven't mentioned purpose. That's key, because the individual and the Ride the Wave Foundation, the slogan, if you will, or the tagline is the path is to the person. Mm. So what we're doing is we're trying to develop a training program 6 months, hopefully, probably less, there's going to be a book released, things like that, to really give people. So you saying men or in those communities or anywhere, but women and men, if they're in a position like that, or it's encouragement and gratitude, things like that. So there are business even skills, like your mental health strategies, positive leadership, servant leadership is big. There's a lot, there's a whole formula behind servant leadership. And there's a lot of great business leaders. The problem is everybody focuses on the negativity, but there's a whole world of, I would say, inactive individuals who are building empires that are, I think, kind of angels on earth too. So yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, it's
fascinating.
It's just seeing like I talk to a lot of middle-aged men, right? That did the family thing, you know, their kids are out, and now they're reaching that retirement age, and now they're looking like, man, like I don't think I have enough to live. Yeah, and it's like, yeah, times change. Where it's like the man who worked 40 years probably won't survive the next 10. Yeah. And that's just the honest truth. And that's why I'm so focused on that, is because it's the man who's been providing. Like, imagine this man been providing for the family that long, decades, but then he can't give his grandchildren $100 after 50 years.
Into some of those strategies.
Yeah. So
yeah. So I mean, all
that's why I'm so focused on it.
Yeah. And look, and the reason, just so people understand too, in the audience, like, it's a men's group that I go to with Javon, who now you're heading it up, right? You have your own group.
Phil is still in.
Phil's still there. Okay. All right.
Yeah,
that's
so
right.
He's
like
both of us.
So you're both doing it. And I'm gonna go to one see you speak, man. That's awesome. So
yeah.
That's how I started looking at it, like, myself too, because it was like, here I am, I'm almost 50. I've never been married. I don't have any kids. But yet, at some point, I feel like I wanted to find somebody, or I need somebody in my life. I don't mind being alone. I'm one of those people, I don't know if you've seen like the videos on Instagram or YouTube where it have like the deep sayings, a man who doesn't mind being alone, and then it's
starting to figure out if he really means that, though.
I'm one of those people.
Javon, I'm trying to figure out if he means that.
It's like, I look at it, I look at him, I be watching them and I be reading, and I be looking at them like, It's like there's certain, like, each video I look at is at least one or two things out of those videos that I can write down, that I can say that are me. Yeah. And I can say that me being one of those people, I don't mind being alone. I'm okay with being alone.
But it probably would be nice, to have somebody. It would be nice
to have somebody. It would be nice.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it would be nice.
Like that, to me, I would want that to be my happy place, my peace.
What being with somebody?
No, my peace is being alone. Okay. My peace is being alone. I want somebody who either gonna help me sustain that peace, or, add to it.
But that's the thing. God can only do that. So it's like peace is something. Peace is something that doesn't come from this world. Happiness comes from this world, but joy and peace has to be given. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, joy and peace bring fulfillment. Happiness bring moments.
Sort of like for every like thing God presents, like love, right? True love. Yeah. And then there's lust. So the devil puts out the opposite. The devil has a perversion. So there's a counter. Yeah. Counter. Could you get into that a little bit? Or like whatever you were going to say before as far as strategies?
Oh, yeah.
Mind taking that back to that? Focus?
So like just to go on that point, and then I'll go to this, is that when you look at the Gospels, right, and Satan tempts Jesus, right, this is the three main things of why men fell, right, and Satan presented them all to Christ. It's the lust of the eye, the lust of the flesh, and the pride of life.
Why anyone fails.
Yeah, literally. So sometimes when I say man within the context of scripture, I'm talking about man. Yeah,
okay, man. All right, just to clarify, because listen, the women also too in the audience. I could already just picture a couple friends right now. So I just want to make it. Yeah,
gotcha.
we. Yeah.
So mankind falls because of these three things: the lust of the eye, the lust of flesh, and the pride of life. Right? Those are the three main things that will knock every human to the ground. Right? So Satan tries to tempt Jesus with that, and Jesus denies it. Right? So when you're looking at it from that lustful, he presented a temporary thing to an eternal God. Okay. Right? So the lust is always temporary.
Yes.
Right? You can be having sex with a girl or a prostitute, whatever thing you want to do outside of marriage, but that's a moment.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? The eternal aspect is marriage. Yeah. Marriage is a reflection of the kingdom of God. That is why the two hit literally in Genesis it says that a man will leave his mother and his father and become one with his wife. Right? So they are supposed to become one. Akkad, as the Hebrews say. Akkad means one. Yeah. So when that happens, now you're seeing the glory of God and the manifestation of his kingdom through marriage if it's done right.
Yeah.
If it's not done right, you see a whole different kingdom.
You know why I know that's true?
A lot of marriages are not done right.
Yeah. There you go.
Because I'm experiencing that. I've experienced that in my life. I've had several in the past before Kristen blowout relationships, passionate that just go crazy. And that's been because I'm a high energy, sort of manic person. I can be sometimes to begin with. So, that had happened. But with Kristen though, it's love because it's patient and it's, I don't know. I could just tell the difference. It wasn't that lust, which I realized that was. So the one thing I'll say is I waited. One thing that I never did was put myself on any kind of time. So one thing that I'll say to people to get to true love, don't settle. And also give it some time. If you're making a decision like, oh, we got to get married, then I think that is a mistake personally. I mean, I'm not a counselor, but just based on my experience, because I waited and I could have, and we were talking about, and I'm switching gears here, with women, women in particular that I was dating would have definitely been career-wise more of the breadwinner. But it was so blowout, that it just didn't work. But that I realized looking back, especially now that I feel, like I've been blessed by God. Yeah. That's not me. I mean, I'm a vessel for it. I do the work. I get up every day and make coffee and go to the room to bring this forth. But I feel like it's been given to me. It's a gift.
And that's the calling.
Yeah, it's definitely a calling.
So that's what I mean by purpose. So when God, every human being on the face of this earth has a gift. You were born with this thing, all right? You just have to birth it out. And it takes programs like yours that's going to help people do that. Right. Their strategies. Birth out what they have inside them. Yes. You get what I'm saying? Yes. And that takes work. A lot of work.
But you know what happens? The more you explore, at least for me, the more I should say me, the more I explored, the more I did. And there was a part of me that really didn't know if I would be where I'm at now or anything like that. It was always a risk, but eventually it doesn't become work the more you do it.
There you go.
It's like anything else, like an athlete training for, their sport. The more repetition of the things you do. And actually, in the morning, if I don't do my morning routine where I'm drinking water, I'm stretching, I'm doing it throws me off so much. And if I'm not doing group and church and things like that, it's like a spiritual food, man. It throws me off big time.
That's how I am. When I'm at the house, my morning routine.
It's important.
First thing I do when I wake up, besides, go to the bathroom, go make some tea, make some hot tea, go outside.
Shower, shit, shave.
Basically. But not necessarily in that order. You got to shit, shower, then shave. Or shave, shower, whatever. Put like that. In the morning, probably shit comes first. In the morning, because you got to let out what you ate last night. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So having that routine is helpful, though, right? I mean, has it helped you?
I mean, my routine, like I said, I'm home by myself, so my routine is whatever I make it.
Yeah.
And because I don't have to answer to nobody, I don't have to, if I'm not waking up in the early morning, coming here doing this,
Yeah.
Either uptown doing on my laptop, doing the research, doing,
Yeah. I think it's important to be an intentional life, right? Intentional.
Yeah, discipline.
Yeah, discipline. It's tough.
I mean, that's
especially
not
this world when there's so
like,
many distractions.
That's what, and discipline keeps you.
I became disciplined early.
Yeah.
Early, I became disciplined. I was raised by a disciplined woman.
Nice.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, you both, bro.
Women, having when I say solid woman in place is important.
She, like
Oh,
my mom.
It's life changing.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I say discipline, my mom was head of security at World Trade Center.
Oh yeah.
That type of
Like,
discipline.
get in order.
That type of discipline. Like that, and that's where my mental comes from. My mom.
Beautiful.
You know what I mean? And it's like I was 5 or 6 years old. I'm taking a train to New York by myself, going to meet her at her job at the World Trade Center.
See how times change?
Yeah.
Man.
Before we wrap up, Javon, I just to dig into just like a few, whichever ones you want to talk about, a few of the strategies, just real quick. You had mentioned.
I mean, I just do one for sake. We out of time. So
No, that's all right.
So let's do like going back to the silence of men. What I was talking about, like the spiritual tactics of what Satan. So if we go to Genesis 3, right? Just catch this when it's said. It says, now the serpent was the most cunning of all the wild animals that the Lord God had made, and he said to the woman, did God really say you can't eat from any tree in the garden? And the woman said to the serpent, we may eat from the trees in the garden, about the fruit of the tree in the middle of the garden. And God said, you must not eat it or touch it or you will die. No, you will not die, the serpent said to the woman. In fact, God knows that when you eat it, your eyes will be open and you will be like God, knowing good and evil. And the woman saw that the tree was good for food and delightful to look at, and it was desirable for obtaining wisdom. So she took some of its fruit, ate it, and also gave it to her husband who was with her, and he ate it. Then both of their eyes were open, yada, yada, yada.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You see in that aspect, you see in that aspect right there that the man never spoke. Eve was given instruction. The serpent, Satan never came before Eve. Right. So the man was present with God this whole time. Satan never shows up. He only comes when now the man and the woman are together in marriage. Mm-hmm. So now he has a word for the woman, not the man. And then he's confronting the woman about what God said, but Adam gave God gave Adam the word. Adam gave his wife the word, and now Satan challenged it. But it's not on the aspect of she wants to be like Adam. It's that the woman want to be above everything like God. And she said, the scripture says she took it because it was desirable for eating. So the desire, what is so desirable? Mm-hmm. Like, what is that desire that you're craving? And this, like, I could dive deep into this, but
yeah.
this is
how about this? Because thank you for reading that verse. If it's okay with you.
Yeah, we gotta cut this.
No. Don't worry about it. Would you be willing to come back? And actually, we could go chapter by chapter. We don't have to read the whole thing if we don't want, but just to have a combo like we are now, talk about different subjects, because I think it ties into everyday life too, and what we do and how we speak. So if we go over something like that, or how you read that, I have some thoughts too that somebody might say, oh, is that literal? I don't think so, but I mean, to a certain extent, but yeah, I think we could maybe, and it could be so long stretched out, recurring guests, because I think this was good. This was a good sit down. So if you're cool with it, we could go. It'll take us so long, never end. We'll just go each chapter and spread out through.
It's knowing, like this was like the spiritual aspect, like know the spirit. Yeah, it starts off by saying he's cunning. Yeah. So now you gotta know, you gotta catch it. Like, what's the spirit of the times right now?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this, again, thank you so much.
We are definitely in the spiritual battle. That we definitely in spiritual, like
from beginning of time.
Yes.
Yeah, but now it's like, it's more, how you say, it's like it's more relevant. Like it's more noticeable by the people now.
You know what's interesting?
You get what I'm saying? Like it's starting to become more noticeable spiritually about everything that's going on in the world spiritually by the people. It's starting to be noticed more because everything that people are starting to realize a lot of things more.
You know, it's interesting too.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
to
I got you.
certain aspects. You know what I mean?
I got you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, because you know it's interesting. Like people may look at me, but inside is completely different. Like it's completely changed. I don't know how I lived prior quite like this. Actually, it's odd, but nobody on the outside may, you know, really notice that. But I do want to dive into that a little bit more and have a little bit of a deeper discussion on all this, and you know, be intentional. But yeah, again, you're somebody, Javon, that I appreciate. I called you for advice a couple times, almost like a spiritual counselor. Actually, what you too, when you that conversation that we had was key at that exact point. I'm unsure if Wade would have.
Which one?
I think you were. I mean, something
right
stupid,
after that night.
Stupid. The Holy Spirit question, like me being outside. That is so dumb. I don't care because I'll ask questions. You know, they say like there are no dumb questions. It's true because it leads you somewhere else. It was the most basic question that I asked you. I think I was like, I can't even remember exactly what it is because I was feeling it. I was like, do you remember what it was?
You were asking it based off of like the group, with your experience.
Yeah,
that you were saying, and then it led to the next day. I think it was
like, is the spirit in me, or I think I like said like, is it external? Whatever it was something. Yeah,
so
like
you
that.
were speaking on like having the experience with an external spirit, but I was like, if you are a believer, then the Holy Spirit lives within you. Yeah. So that experience that you're having is already in you. So it's really that aspect. But
I'm gonna like go with one point. I'm gonna segue us finally out of here because I can go all day. Actually, you know, let's wrap it up because I don't know if it'll. I guess I don't understand why people, like you said, there's a spiritual war, and I agree. I think some people know the spirit, some people don't. But I guess I can't relate to my past self prior to being saved. So I don't understand why people don't see that. It's in all the Marvel movies. It's everywhere. There's hate, there's torture, there's sex trafficking, which now is literally going to go over the, drug trade. And there's so much evil, but there's also really a lot of blessings too in life. And also too, you know, when things kick up, if people notice like the Super Bowl, right? How come people don't think like when things kick up in this country and a lot of turmoil and stuff like that, why don't they say to themselves, hey, why is there revivals popping up everywhere? Why did say a Jesus commercial came up on Super Bowl? I don't understand why it doesn't just trigger something in them to explore. It's like everybody's so numb. And then really quick rebound on that. I know that's a big one.
The scripture says that he has blinded the eyes of those. So it takes the Holy Spirit to take the scales off of somebody's eye. That's why when you become saved, you're like, man, I'm just a new person. You've been living in darkness so long that you don't even see the corruption. That's
a good way to end it. Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Mark, you the man.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for the good points. Yeah, and thanks again, Javon, for
yes, sir,
for coming on. Everybody, check out Kingdom Talks podcast. Do you have anything else you want to plug? Instagram or Facebook? Anything for the business?
My Instagram is Javon Blue. So if you got a question about anything, just hit me up. I'm an open book.
Absolutely. And everybody, as usual, if you like what you heard, want to be more involved, please subscribe to all our social media platforms. And we look forward to seeing you or talking next time. Take care, guys. Peace. Thanks, everyone, for joining us at the Wave Podcast. If you like the content and want to see more, please subscribe to all our social media platforms. They'll be listed below. See you next time.